Jeffrey Gurian, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Ron. How you guys doing? Hi, Gail.
Hi, good to see you, Jeffrey.
Great to see you too, Earl. Hey, everybody. The whole Bennington family's there. So
Well, that's
nice
how
to
we
see
do
you
the
guys.
show. We do the
Gail,
show
how are you
with all of
feeling?
us. Gail,
I'm hanging in there. My
Good.
due date is Wednesday, so
The
just
same day
like
as
it.
my show.
the
Yes,
same
No,
day as your show. Yeah.
it's the best
exactly. I don't
excuse
know if
for
I'll make it.
it's the best excuse I ever heard for not coming to my show. That's okay. I
Are
asked
you,
I asked Ron.
yeah.
I actually asked Ron to be on the show, but like he said, hey, that's Gail's due date, and I'm like, absolutely. I would stay away if it was your due date, and it was my own
Yeah.
show. You know?
Now, where are you right now, Jeffrey?
I'm in my writing room.
Okay. It's a nice
Yeah,
looking room.
it
Yeah,
is a
you got a
nice
nice
looking room,
printer, I
right?
see. It
And
looks like
it's
a
got even
full-size printer.
it's got even more pictures.
Yes, good.
My
Jeffrey has a
Sopranos.
house that looks like a New York restaurant that celebrities have been to, and there's just it's there isn't, you know how when a place has been around for a while, like the Comedy Cellar, there's no space in between the pictures. That's how many stars have played there. That's Jeffrey's home. Every just frame up against frame everywhere you go.
And what's funny about it is when I did the book on the comic strip that Chris Rock wrote the intro for, Richie Tinkin came to my house to interview me to talk about the possibility of doing the book. And when he walked in, he's like, "My God, I think you have more pictures here than I have in the club." He goes, "I think you're the guy to do the book."
It is the truth. You do have more pictures than he had at the club. All right, here. This goes to show you how big comedy is now. Last night, Foo Fighters first show back in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
They announced a special guest to come out and sing a song. It's Dave Chappelle. He fucking does Creep with them. The place goes crazy.
What?
And I'm gonna be honest, hilarious man. Does he have one of the great voices of all time? No. But his power is so big right now that they were just happy to see him come out and do this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did you say that he did "Creep" by Radiohead?
Yes,
One of my very favorite songs. You know, during the
should
pandemic,
be.
I actually figured out how to play it on the piano. It's really such a beautiful song. Without the words, just the melody itself is a really beautiful song.
I didn't know if you know this, Gail. He's a wonderful piano player. He's got a beautiful white piano. It looks like the type of thing that Elton John would have in his living room, sitting in
I know
his
this.
beautiful white on white living room. Well, here's the thing about Jeffrey Gurian. He's an elegant man. He's an
He is.
elegant man. You don't see that much anymore.
No, you really don't.
Did I ever tell you the story when I was on a cruise and a guy thought I was Elton John? So
No.
I'm on this crazy cruise. It was a charity cruise, and they brought me on as a guest. And it went from California to Mexico. And this guy comes over to me, and, well, actually, he came over to my friend, and he just said to him, "Is that who I think it is?" And without confirming, my friend just said yes. So the guy started following me around. He thought I was Elton John. Now, I don't know this. And I'm talking to some girl, and the guy buds in, and he starts saying, "Thank you for the red piano." I didn't know that Elton John had an album called The Red Piano. I thought the guy was a maniac. Well, he was a maniac, and he turned out he was an eye surgeon. And at dinner that night, he sent a drink to my table that cost $400. And I was not drinking at the time. And he continued to follow me around until I had to confront the guy. I'm like, "I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not the person that you think I am." And then he told me he thought I was Elton John. And I've been using it in my act ever since. You
Well,
know,
here's
Phil Spector fucked Elton John.
Right, exactly. Because I could see how you would have the Phil Spector look. You kind of, the glasses, the hair, the whole. Although his hair was a wig.
Yeah,
I
he
know
had
that.
crazy, like curly, like a
Yeah.
wig and all. But it was such a bizarre thing for people. I don't really think I look anything like Elton John. There's an image there. But this guy was
Right.
convinced, and he was really ticked off to find out. He thought I was misleading him. And I told my friend, "What'd you tell him that for?" He goes, "I didn't tell him anything. I just said yes." Is that who I think it is? Yes.
Yes, it is. It is who you think it is.
Exactly
Now,
who you're
Chris,
thinking of.
is there a reason you're not plugging this big show for Jeffrey? Should I hand that over to Earl?
No, please.
He's turned a corner.
Does seem like an Earl thing.
I would love to plug Jeffrey's show, which is happening this Wednesday, June 23rd at 8 p.m. at the Cutting Room in New York City. Also on the show, Vlad Kamano, Derek Gaines, Aaron Berg, and more. For tickets, go to thecuttingroomnyc.com.
Chris, why are you saying him more? What is that about? Is there comics you don't want to say their names?
I thought, I would love to say their names. I just wanted to have an air of mystery. Say who else is going to show up at the show.
I agree. I agree with Chris. I like what he did.
Was that my hearing aid?
Oh my God.
I would have loved to say with Ron Bennington, but that'll be for the next show.
Well, here's the deal. I thought we could do while we're sitting here. If you come up with a comedian's name, let's see if Jeffrey has a personal story or has met him. And I mean anyone in comedy. Earl Douglas, you go first.
Jerry Lewis.
Jerry Lewis,
Yes.
you gave him a softball, my friend.
I had the pleasure of writing Jerry's speech when he was honored by the Friars Club, which reopened recently. It's crazy. But yeah, I got very friendly with Jerry. I actually went out to see him when he was in Las Vegas. And when he performed with Sammy Davis Jr., it was the first time that they performed together after being friends for 40 years. And he asked me to write material for the show. And it was really a great honor for me. And I stayed friends with Jerry for quite a long time. But that first night that I met him, it was just the two of us working alone in his hotel room. And while I was there, he got a phone call that they discovered the gene that caused the Duchenne form of muscular dystrophy. And he started crying. Tears were running down his face. And I was there alone with him to share that moment. And it was really a truly amazing thing. We worked together for 2 nights. And that's what started our friendship.
Wow. See,
that's
now,
amazing.
Gail, do you have one? Any name at all?
Joan Rivers.
Yeah, Joan Rivers was a very dear friend. I was her personal writer for quite a while. And as a matter of fact, one of the last times I saw her was when she was doing your show. She was in the green room, and they brought me in to surprise her. She had just done a book called The Diary of a Mad Diva. And they brought me in. They said, Jeffrey, you have to come with us. And I had just done one of my new books. I don't remember which one it was. It could have been Laughing Legends. And they brought me in, and she was so surprised to see me. Big hugs and all. And I wanted to talk to her about her book, and she wanted to talk about my book. And I said, Joan, I'll give you a copy. And she said, absolutely not. I want to buy a copy. I want to support you. That's how kind she was. And she had her assistant take a picture of the cover of my book so she could order it. So I had a wonderful time. She was one of the nicest people that I ever wrote for. I used to go to her home on 61st Street, this big mansion. And it was really, really pretty amazing. She was a very kind and generous person, not the persona that you might have seen on stage. She was really fantastic.
Have you seen this TV show Hackers that's kind of based on Joan without using her name?
No, I haven't seen it. Where is it on? What network?
Oh, that's a good question. You know it?
It's HBO Max.
Hacks.
I never know.
Hacks.
What? Oh, it's just called Hacks. Yeah, not
Hacks.
Hackers.
Hacks.
That's insane. So it's Lorraine Newman's daughter also in it. And Jean Smart plays this version without saying it's Joan. She has a different name. But she's in Vegas. She does QVC. You know, her husband's dead. The whole 9 yards. Everything seems like she's nailing it for me until the stage. And then you're like, no. I mean, how are you going to duplicate Joan on stage?
Joan used to come to the Cutting Room every week. That's another reason that it's special for me to be there. You know, it was my 1-year recovery from COVID double pneumonia, and they invited me to come in and create a show. And I used to go there on Wednesday nights to see Joan. She would work out new material there. It was one of her favorite places. And one of my favorite stories, which made me feel really good, she did a thing up at Just for Laughs in Montreal. and she was wearing this outrageous, like, white feathered outfit. She looked fantastic. And they were very protective of her. They weren't letting people backstage to see her after the show. And I felt comfortable. I knew that she'd want to see me. And I went back, and they were trying to keep me from going in. And she spotted me. And she's like, Jeffrey. And she ran over and gave me a big hug. And the bodyguards just moved away, and they let me come in, and we took pictures and we hung out. And it was very, very special because they were very protective of her. She was older at the time, and they just didn't want her being surrounded by people that she didn't know. So I was always grateful to her.
You reminded me of this story, Jeffrey, that you actually crashed her funeral.
I didn't crash. That. I was invited.
Oh, you were invited. I thought you came up and then they brought you in.
No. It was a very difficult thing. I was actually invited. I had to show up with an invitation. I remember I was talking to Dr. Oz afterwards. They actually made it very funny. You know, her daughter gave a funny speech. Howard Stern got up and gave a very outrageous speech. Everybody that spoke made it very funny because they said that's how Joan would have wanted it. And about a year or two ago, I got asked to perform at a funeral. And this was a crazy thing. I had never performed at a funeral before. The man lost his wife and didn't bother to tell the relatives that he was going to have a comedian come up. So I found myself in a very awkward situation because the people were there honoring this woman who just passed away, and I'm supposed to get up and tell jokes. So they introduced me as a good friend of the family, and I started telling jokes, and I saw the look on people's faces, and I said, listen, I have to tell you, when Joan Rivers passed away, they made it funny because they wanted people to honor her memory and not in sadness. And so the husband was the one that invited me. So I hope no one is offended. And after that, everyone relaxed and they loved it. But it was, for a moment, it was a very awkward scene telling jokes at someone's funeral.
All right, Chris, I can't get you to plug. I mean, I really want a big show business plug for Jeffrey's thing. Are you giving out the address, the whole 9 yards? Or are you just saying cutting room?
I was just giving the cutting room. You go to the website, thecuttingroomnyc.com. They'll give you all the information you need, where to get tickets, where the venue is. And that's happening this Wednesday, June 23rd. Jeffrey Gurian's performing at the Cutting Room in New York City. Also on the show, Vlad Kamano, Derek Gaines, Aaron Berg, and many more. For tickets, you go to thecuttingroomnyc.com. What
block is it on, Jeffrey, for people who don't know?
It's between Park and Madison, 44 East 32nd Street. Yeah. There's parking all around there. And you know what I like about it? I like doing shows in an elegant room.
Sure.
You know, comedy clubs are great, but I like a place that serves dinner, that has a real restaurant, that people can come in for a real evening of entertainment. People are ready to laugh again. You know, it's been more than a year that we've been separated from each other. And the shows that I've been at recently have been fantastic. The audiences are full and people are just ready to laugh. They want to get out. But there are still people that are nervous. You know, I went to the Friars the other day. They had an event in the afternoon. And it was the first time I was in a room full of people with no masks and everyone talking to each other very close, like pre-pandemic. And I actually felt a little bit of concern because when people aren't wearing masks, you don't know if it's because they got vaxxed or because they just don't care.
Right.
You know?
Here's what I do, Jeffrey. This is the easiest way to do this. Just say to them, who do you think is the president right now? And that's easier. All right, Chris Stanley, your opportunity here to see if Jeffrey has a story, a personal story about this person.
All right, this is a controversial name these days, but Mr. Woody Allen. Woody Allen.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Woody Allen is the one who actually was my inspiration. And not that he gave me a start in comedy, but he read my earliest material. And I got to spend an evening with him backstage. I contrived a way to get to see him. I was a senior or a junior in dental school at the time. And he was starring on Broadway in Play It Again, Sam with Tony Roberts. And I started sending him notes. At the time, there were only 3 people in the world that I ever wanted to meet. Woody Allen, Salvador Dali, and the Beach Boys. And I got to meet them all. So with Woody, you know, I had planned that I was going to go to the Broadway show, but I was a kid. I had no money for tickets. I don't even know how I eventually got the money. Maybe my parents gave it to me. And every weekend when I would come in from Philadelphia, I would take my dental school card that you would give to a patient for an appointment, and I'd write a note on the back of it. Hi, Woody, it's Jeffrey. We're all, you know, and I can't wait to see you again. I made believe like we were old friends. And I would keep dropping these notes off at the theater. And I said, and I'll be down to see you very soon. So I realized that if you're going to meet a big star, you have to come across that you're sane. You can't show up like a lunatic, because most men are not going to the theater hoping to meet other young men. So anyway, I dropped off my card. I realized I had to be sane, and there's only two ways to prove that you're sane. You either wear a tie or you bring a pretty girl with you. And I didn't have a tie, and I only knew one girl, and she hated me because we had just broken up. But I begged her to come with me. She knew it was my dream to meet Woody Allen, and she agreed to come with me. So the night of the show, I borrowed my father's car. I drive down, and I leave a note, the final note. I said, Woody, I'm here, and I'll be back during intermission. I knew so little. I didn't even know you wait till the end of the show. I thought you go see somebody during intermission. Intermission comes, and I'm nervous to go backstage. And she's like, you have to do this. I came with you. You can't back out. So I go backstage, and there's no terrorism in those days. I just walk in. Stage manager says to me, can I help you? And I said, yeah, Woody's expecting me. And he's like, go right in. So I go to his dressing room, and it's empty. And he's in Tony Roberts' dressing room with the entire cast. And I can see this literally like it was yesterday. I walk up to the door. Woody's sitting on a couch across the room. The whole cast is mingling in the room. And I look in the door, and I go like this to him. And he goes like this, me? And I'm like, yes, you. And he comes over, and he's actually holding my card. And he says to me, you must be Jeff. And at that point, I totally lost it. I'm meeting my idol. I'm a kid. I'm meeting my idol. And I started saying ridiculous things to him, like, let's open up a day camp and throw winter clothes at people. I said, let's walk low like we used to in Europe. And he looks at the girl I'm with. He goes, this guy's a fucking nut. Just like that. And I realized I was overexcited, you know? So I said to him, listen, I'm a comedy writer, and I write things, and everyone says that what I write is like you, and I was hoping that you could read my stuff, you know? He says, well, look, I'm in the middle of a show. This is intermission. Do you think you could come back tomorrow night? And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm much too busy. No, I said, of course, I'll come back tomorrow night. And I begged the same girl. I had no self-esteem. I thought it was who I had with me, right? I begged the same girl. It's a rainstorm. I pick her up at Co-op City. I get my father's car again. We drive down. I meet Woody after the show, and he sits with me for about an hour in the dressing room reading all of my material. And it wasn't like in script form. As I recall, it was in an envelope, like scraps of paper with ideas on it. And he says to me, you know, my dream was that he was going to say, Jeffrey, we have to make movies together. But that's not what happened. He said, you have a very visual sense of humor, and you should really think of making a film out of it. And years later, I did. For the Toyota Comedy Festival, I created a film called The Men Who series, about men who do very unusual things, men who take a pitchfork to the movies, men who enjoy Latin dancing with tools. I did one called Men Who Dance Where They're Not Supposed to, starring Peter Dinklage. Before he was famous, Peter Dinklage.
That was going to be my name. Peter Dinklage.
He's dancing, and he gets arrested for dancing in a no dancing zone. You know, you could only dance on certain days of the week, like a no parking zone. And I had my artist made up an amazing sign. We pasted it up over a no parking sign, but it said no dancing. And no dancing Tuesdays and Thursdays or any other time. So after the shoot, I forgot to take it down. And traffic was backed up because people were pulling up to park, and they see a sign that says no dancing. And it got into the newspaper, as a matter of fact. And I was nervous that I was going to get in trouble for defacing a New York City sign because people were trying to figure out if they were allowed to dance. But Peter Dinklage got arrested for dancing in a no dancing zone. And I always wonder if he would remember that. I
Well,
have a feeling
Chris's
he might.
answer took up all of my time. So, Chris, big plug. Jeffrey, good luck with this new Cutting Room show. It's very, very exciting. Go ahead, Chris.
Jeffrey Gurian's performing at the Cutting Room in New York City. That's on 44 East 32nd Street. I hear there's plenty of parking. That's this Wednesday, June 23rd at 8 p.m. Also on the show, Vlad Kamano, Derek Gaines, Aaron Berg, and many more. For tickets, go to thecuttingroomnyc.com.
Jeffrey, we'll see you soon, my friend.
You guys are
See
the
you,
best.
Jeffrey.
Thanks so much, Gail. I wish
Right.
you all the luck in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much,
Love you,
guys.
buddy.
Earl, take care. Be well. See you soon. Hey, guys. Thanks for watching Comedy Matters TV. To check out some of our other videos, click on the boxes on either side of me. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Not just for me, but for my parents.